So now let's look at some more creative uses of the Loft tool. So go ahead and create a new layer and select your NURBS curve tool. And we want to be in control point mode. And let's start with a first degree. And just make a zigzag curve. Something with 7 vertices. Right, now change the degree to second degree. And let's make our curve this time snapping to the 2 endpoints, but going in the opposite direction. So we kind of want to zigzag the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and finish that off. So now let's take that second curve and go over to Object Info and make sure where it says Move, we want to move the entire object. And we want to move the Z to be at 10 feet. And looking in 3D, we see that curve is now 10 feet above the other. Now let's go to a left view. And I just want an arc that we can use to connect these two. And for me, I think the easiest way to do a circular arc is going to be with the arc tool. So select your 2D arc tool. Let's set our plane to be screen aligned. And let's go to the point on arc mode. This is going to let us select 2 endpoints and a final point. So I want a bottom point here and straight up on the Y. And then let's give it a little bit of a curve. Not too much or we're not going to get some successful solutions. So just kind of a little arc to it. And now go to Modify, Convert, Convert to NURBS. And looking in an isometric view, we have these 3 curves. And now note that they don't actually touch each other. They're just oriented the way that we want them to. So let's look at a few ways to loft these. So go to your Loft tool. And we'll go to the first mode, just selecting the curves. Now we want to go bottom to top to bottom. It actually doesn't matter. What does matter is we're not crossing over and doing a twist. And just incidentally, we can actually go through and kind of reverse the directions of the curves here and make that twist, but we don't want to do that. But if you're ever stuck having a shape that you don't want, or if the solution is impossible, sometimes just reversing that curve will get you the solution you want. So we're going to want to keep those curves and make sure the other options are unchecked, so not ruled, and not closed, and not create solid. And if you click preview, you should see that you'll get a solution. Now, it's possible that if you made your zigzag too steep, or if you made something not quite line up the right way, that you're not going to get a solution to this. And sometimes Vectorworks just can't do the math. You've asked it to compute something that's impossible. So just keep that in mind anytime you're working with lofting NURBS, is sometimes you need to make some adjustments so that mathematics is possible. And now you can see that we have a group of NURBS surfaces that transition the bottom profile to the top. All right, so let's look at what we can do with a rail. So let's go back to Loft Surface. And now we want the second mode using one rail. Now, sometimes I forget which thing that we click on first. So here's a case where that mode text is going to be really useful. So this is saying, select a rail curve, then the profile curves. So what we want now is for the curve, this vertical curve that we've drawn, to be our rail. So select that, and clicking up the top will help us because we're going to go top to bottom. And then we want to go from the top squiggle to the bottom zigzag. And check. So now what we have is we're, again, transitioning from the top to the bottom, but we're actually going to do that along that curve. So we're going from the bottom zigzag to the top shape, and we're getting from one to the next by using that arc. And you'll actually see that my arc wasn't quite 10 feet, so it's going to be a little bit shorter, right? Because we're just using this arc as the profile. All right, so let's do this again, but a little differently. So go back to Loft Surface. And now we're going to go from using this zigzag. And now click on this curve and check. And now we're taking that curve and a little bit like our extrude along path, moving that curve along our path. So this is almost like if we took a hot wire and we move that on a path through a piece of foam, and we're going to cut that shape. We're going to sculpt out that shape. So we're going to do one more mode here. So go over to your Loft Surface tool and select the third mode. And here we want to select the first rail curve, the second rail curve, and the profile. So the bottom zigzag is going to be for the first rail, and then the top one is going to be the second rail, and the third one is going to be this profile. Now again, depending on your curves, it's possible you just won't get a solution here. In this case, Vectorworks was able to compute what it looks like if we take this curved shape and we run it between the bottom zigzag and the top squiggle, and we have that profile, that curved profile, all the way through.